On the early morning of November 26, 1978, a faint ringing sound disturbed the quiet of the Holiday Inn in Greece, New York. To the few guests who stirred, it seemed almost trivial, like a distant telephone or a doorbell echoing through the corridors. Most dismissed it, rolling over and returning to their sleep, unaware that the sound they had heard was a fire alarm signaling a rapidly escalating emergency. In reality, the hotel was already engulfed in flames, and the peaceful night that the guests assumed they were enjoying had turned into a nightmare. Greece, a town located in Monroe County, New York, had a population of roughly 90,000 at the time. Originally an agricultural community, it had transformed over the decades into a predominantly industrial suburb, with many residents employed at the nearby Kodak Park, the sprawling headquarters of the Kodak Photographic Film Company. The town was also known for its shopping centers, drawing visitors from surrounding areas during holiday sales. The Holiday Inn, part of the nationally recognized chain of hotels and resorts, was a prominent fixture in this community. Built in 1963, it originally featured 91 rooms. Although some had been later converted into conference spaces to accommodate business and social gatherings that particular weekend, the hotel was bustling. Approximately 200 guests occupied the property, including 2 wedding parties, a tour group, and visitors attending a singles night organized by the hotel. Additional travelers were in town for shopping and taking advantage of post-Thanksgiving sales. By late night, the bar and dining areas had quieted down, and by 2 a.m. most guests were in their rooms, the cold November air pressing against closed windows. At around 2:30 a.m., the fire started quietly in a storage closet beneath a staircase. This small room contained cleaning supplies, including stacks of paper towels, which ignited easily and quickly fed the growing flames. Within minutes, the fire had moved beyond the closet, racing up the stairwell and extending into adjacent hallways. The hotel's alarm system activated, sounding a single bell on each floor. While the alarm alerted those in nearby rooms, its reach was limited. Many guests, hearing only faint echoes, assumed it was merely a ringing phone and chose to remain in bed as the fire intensified. Hotel employees began moving from room to room, urging occupants to evacuate. Their dedication to saving lives was commendable, but in the chaos, a critical step was missed. The local fire department was never contacted immediately. At that time, Greece had not yet been connected to the 911 emergency system, while direct phone calls to the firehouse were possible. In the urgency of the moment, no one made the call. In a stroke of luck, 2 off-duty firefighters were passing by the hotel just minutes after the fire began. Observing the smoke and flames, they quickly intervened. One was able to alert the authorities using his car radio, while both men assisted hotel staff in guiding guests towards safety. It had become a race against time. The fire spread rapidly, filling corridors with thick smoke and consuming rooms as it traveled along both wings of the hotel. Reinforcements arrived from the Greece Ridge Fire Department, with additional support provided by nearby stations from Rochester, North Greece, and Barnard. Over the next 2 hours, more than 100 firefighters and dozens of emergency vehicles worked tirelessly to evacuate guests and contain the blaze. Many residents were able to leave via normal exits, guided by the coordinated efforts of the firefighters and hotel staff. Yet for some, escape was far more perilous. Smoke had filled hallways, blocking traditional routes. Guests trapped in upper-floor rooms were forced to break windows or leap to the ground, often sustaining injuries in the process. Survivor Mary Atmore later described the ordeal. "We had a choice of burning or jumping from the window. We jumped into the parking lot, and I injured my leg. I don't know how I managed to land on my feet." Once outside, survivors faced the frigid November temperatures, which hovered around -9 degrees Celsius, 16 degrees Fahrenheit. Many were without shoes or adequate clothing, having fled in. Water from firefighting hoses flooded parts of the parking lot, creating additional hazards. Nearby restaurants opened their doors to provide warmth and shelter, while more than 10 ambulances transported the injured to local hospitals. Those uninjured were eventually relocated to temporary accommodations for the night. Despite the efforts to control the fire, the devastation was severe. After 2 hours, the flames were finally contained, but 10 guests had perished. Investigators determined that most deaths resulted from smoke inhalation, as escape routes had been cut off by the rapidly spreading fire. Among the deceased were Rubina Kushanin, 81, and her daughter Ruby, 61, Joyce Plum, 42, Stephen Gregory Ford, 29, Nancy Garrett, 26, Margaret Duncan, 57, Edward Farley, 67, and his wife Lorene, 62, Pamela Sagraff, 30, and Huguette Sundude, 30. Post-fire investigations revealed structural flaws that amplified the disaster. A large void in the hotel's roof allowed flames to spread quickly between walls, as interior partitions did not extend to the ceiling. Rooms were inadequately insulated against smoke and fire, a vulnerability not uncommon in buildings from that era. The fire alarm system was insufficient for a hotel of such size. A single bell per floor failed to provide an unmistakable warning to all occupants. Sprinklers were non-existent, and no emergency lighting was installed to guide guests to exits. Though hotel staff had acted bravely, the lack of immediate communication with the fire department delayed professional intervention. Yet, at the time, the hotel met the fire safety codes in place, leaving no legal grounds for punitive action against the property owners. The fire ultimately destroyed the Holiday Inn, and the remaining structure was cleared to make way for new development. Today, a Red Lobster restaurant occupies the site, a quiet reminder of the tragedy that once struck the community. Investigators also noted evidence suggesting the fire may have been deliberately set. Accelerants had been used, pointing to potential arson by someone familiar with fire behavior. Multiple suspects emerged, including Harold Phillips, an off-duty firefighter who had reported the blaze and conducted the hotel's annual safety inspection. He had identified safety deficiencies during his inspection, and some theorized he might have set a small fire to emphasize the need for improvements. However, no evidence proved any wrongdoing, and Phillips went on to serve as a local fire chief. Another suspect was a long-term hotel guest with a history of previous house fires, potentially motivated by insurance claims. Again, insufficient evidence prevented any legal action. While the deaths of the 10 guests were classified as murders due to the deliberate fire, the case remains unsolved to this day. Fire safety codes have since been modernized, and Greece now benefits from the 911 emergency system. But the haunting memory of that November night persists in local history. As the community processed the aftermath of the disaster, attention turned toward understanding how such a tragedy could unfold in a seemingly ordinary hotel. Witnesses recounted scenes of chaos, frightened guests clinging to each other, hotel staff shouting instructions, and firefighters navigating the smoke-filled corridors with hoses and axes. For many, the fire was not only a test of survival but also a stark revelation of systemic vulnerabilities in building safety and emergency preparedness at the time. The investigation revealed a number of factors that had compounded the scale of the disaster. The fire, originating in a small storage closet, was able to spread with alarming speed due to architectural gaps. The void between the ceiling and roof structure allowed flames and smoke to travel unimpeded, turning isolated fires into a full-blown inferno. Additionally, the hotel's alarm system, a single bell per floor, was inadequate. Guests located further from the alarm often mistook the sound for a ringing phone, a misjudgment that tragically delayed evacuation for many. The lack of sprinklers and emergency lighting further compounded the risk, creating conditions in which even motivated attempts at escape could be deadly. Despite the shortcomings in the hotel's design and emergency systems, the response of hotel staff and the passing off-duty firefighters likely saved dozens of lives. Their quick thinking ensured that many guests were guided safely outside before conditions became unsafe. Yet, the fact that 10 individuals perished underscored the gaps in safety protocols that had gone unaddressed. The survivors were left not only with physical injuries but also with psychological trauma. Witness accounts described the surreal experience of climbing out of windows into frigid air, often without shoes or proper clothing, while smoke and flames consumed the building behind them. The town of Greece, like much of America at the time, had limited access to rapid emergency communication. Greece was not yet integrated into the 911 system, meaning that calls for help required contacting individual firehouses directly. This delay proved critical, as immediate access to professional responders could have accelerated the evacuation and reduced casualties. In the wake of the fire, municipal authorities, fire safety officials, and local government recognized the urgent need for modernization, ultimately leading to the town's eventual connection to 911, improved building codes, and stricter hotel safety regulations. Forensic investigators determined that accelerants had been used, leading to speculation that the fire was deliberately set. Multiple theories emerged, focusing on potential suspects with the knowledge, means, or motive to start such a blaze. Harold Phillips, the off-duty firefighter who reported the fire and conducted the hotel's inspections, became a person of interest. Some conjectured that he might have set a minor fire to highlight safety deficiencies he had observed, but no concrete evidence ever linked him to criminal activity. Another suspect was a long-term guest with a history of previous house fires, possibly driven by financial motives like insurance fraud. Once again, investigators were unable to gather enough evidence to press charges. The unsolved nature of the case left lingering questions within the community. 10 deaths were officially classified as murders due to the deliberate nature of the fire, yet the true cause and perpetrator remained unidentified. Families and survivors were left to grapple with loss, trauma, and uncertainty. The tragedy also ignited broader conversations about fire safety, emergency protocols, and the responsibilities of property owners and local authorities in safeguarding occupants. In the years following the incident, fire safety standards evolved significantly. Modern codes now require multiple alarm devices, emergency lighting, sprinkler systems, and clear evacuation routes. Hotels and public buildings are designed to prevent rapid smoke and fire spread, and staff are trained to respond quickly and efficiently to emergencies. The Greece holiday and fire became a case study in emergency response and risk mitigation, a cautionary tale illustrating how small oversights and outdated systems could result in catastrophic consequences. Memories of that night remain etched in the minds of survivors. Many recounted the fear and uncertainty as corridors filled with smoke, the adrenaline-fueled scramble to escape, and the chilling experience of being exposed to extreme cold while fleeing the inferno. Survivor testimonies emphasize both human courage and the unpredictability of disasters. Some guests credited their survival to the bravery of hotel staff and the timely intervention of the passing firefighters. Others reflected on the fragility of life and the speed with which ordinary routines can transform into life-threatening emergencies. Today, the location of the former Greece holiday Inn bears little resemblance to the site of the 1978 tragedy. A Red Lobster seafood restaurant now occupies the property, a commercial space that masks the profound human history that once unfolded there. Yet the fire remains a significant chapter in local law, a reminder of vulnerability, resilience, and the importance of vigilance and public safety. Scholars, journalists, and historians continue to reference the fire in discussions about building regulations, hotel safety, and emergency response systems, ensuring that the lessons of that night are neither forgotten nor ignored. The incident also highlighted broader societal lessons about preparedness and the human response to crises. The quick thinking of some individuals contrasted starkly with systemic gaps that could have been addressed with better planning and infrastructure. The duality of human heroism and structural failure underscores an important point. Disasters often reveal not only immediate dangers but also the underlying weaknesses in systems designed to protect the public. The Greece holiday and fire serves as a stark illustration of this principle. As of today, despite decades having passed, the fire remains an unsolved case. Authorities have no definitive conclusion about who may have deliberately started the blaze or their motivations. The deaths of the 10 guests, while officially categorized as murders, remain a chilling, unresolved mystery. For the families and the town, the fire is a somber chapter of loss and unanswered questions. Yet it also serves as a lasting catalyst for improvements in safety measures, emergency protocols, and public awareness. In recounting the tragedy, one observes a complex interplay of circumstances: human error, architectural flaws, systemic limitations, and possibly intentional acts. Each element played a role in shaping the final outcome. The story is not simply about fear, it is about vigilance, the fragility of human life, and the need for communities to learn from tragedy in order to prevent future disasters. The Greece holiday and fire, though more than 4 decades old, continues to resonate as a case study in risk, resilience, and the critical importance of preparedness. Ultimately, the fire reminds us that safety is never absolute, but vigilance, quick thinking, and adherence to rigorous standards can mean the difference between life and death. Survivors, investigators, and historians alike reflect on the night of November 26, 1978, as a haunting reminder of how an ordinary evening can rapidly transform into an extraordinary struggle for survival, and how lessons learned in tragedy can shape safer communities for generations to come.